You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including feng shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Lorraine Crawford. Hello, welcome back to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. I'm super excited. I have Amanda and Debbie on with us today from Design Shop. Welcome, Amanda and Debbie.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks.
Hi, yeah.
Nice to be here.
Super good. Before we get started, I'm going to light our candle just to set our space and pull a crystal card, connecting with the element of fire, creation, creativity, all those beautiful things. And I'm going to pull a crystal card. So I've got the Radiant Crystal deck from Bouchette Design, who's also an interior designer. She does commercial work, but she also does like beautiful tarot cards and crystal cards. So she just sent me her newest edition, and we're going to pull a crystal.
Lovely.
Morganite. Love, angelic joy, and strength. And this is connected to the heart chakra. The affirmation is divine love lives within me. And this is just a beautiful, loving heart stone.
Gorgeous.
It's just soft, super soft. So yeah, I always start with home. What is home for you, both at the moment? Either one can start.
Okay, well, for me, originally, I would have always said my house, but that's not the case anymore, although I love it.
Yes.
I'm a little nomadic, so it's definitely something that's within. And what makes usually home for me is I start to place make through routines and rituals wherever I go. And it usually takes me not too long to settle in, but once I find my radius of my safe place and my routines, home is, I guess it's inside, but it does take that marriage of ritual and routine for me to get there. And that comes back to my home as well.
That's
I'm a bit of a ritual girl.
Is there something that you're doing right now, ritual-wise, that you're really enjoying?
It's sort of my routine. Again, it goes back to routine. So on work days, I wake up early and then I have a walk to get coffee and I'm doing calls while I do that. And then I kind of deep dive into work for a couple hours and then it's yoga at 9:45. But because I've gotten up so early and hit my little checklist. I like things slow. I don't like to plan. But then I go out, but I plan not to plan. So I think as long as I can do that, I'm pretty settled and happy.
Amazing. And what about you, Amanda?
Yeah,
it's funny. So Debs and I, as you'll continue to hear, we're a bit of a yin and yang. So I'm like the opposite. I'm a planner. But yeah, home to me, I had my daughter almost a year and a half ago. And I would agree. I think I originally would have said like my house, but I think it's really just like the people that I'm surrounded with. And for me right now, like that's my family. So like my daughter and my husband, and that probably extends a little bit too to like my parents and my brother. And we actually just had a family wedding this weekend. So we saw lots of like cousins. And I think for me, it's just really about the people that I'm surrounding myself with would definitely be home for me right now.
It's amazing. Yeah, people for sure. I love it.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me? Oh, no one's ever asked me. I don't think. I'm like, what is home? I'm right there with you. I think it's my family. It's my boys. It's my husband. Just us as a unit. And everywhere we go, it's kind of like our car is our home. When we travel, that's our home. It's just like the core, the four of us, just at any moment we can be connected. And I feel that we're at home, even if we just close our eyes and I just think about them, I feel so close to them. So yeah, it's that for sure. Amazing.
Love it.
I would love to know how you guys got into this world of design. Like, what's the story? How did that unfold for you both? And then I also want to know how you guys got together, because I always think partnerships are so special and, so unique and different. So yeah, so can you share with us how you got into this world?
For sure. Amanda, do you want to start off with this guy?
Sure. Yeah. Through growing up, I think design has always been a big part of my life. Just in different ways. So my parents were always very into art, and I was, surrounded by a lot of, interesting architecture and had that privilege. But then going into university, I was like, oh, maybe that's interesting. And I think Debbie and I both had law as one of our maybes for our profession. But I think I've always been a creative person, and there was some interest, and I kind of thought, what do I have to lose? So I applied at the University of Manitoba for their environmental design degree, which is part of their Faculty of Architecture, and got in on my first try, which was really exciting.
Oh my goodness.
Went through that very grueling experience. So what's kind of neat about that program is, at least at the time, it's one of the best interior design schools in North America. And they, at the time, also compared it to medical school just because of the sheer amount of work. So there were a lot of all-nighters, and it was a really neat environment, though, because you had this studio, which is probably similar to other schools as well, but you really become close to these people because you're with them a lot and you're going through this, pretty life-changing experience. So I went through all of the schooling and really just fell in love with it. And what was interesting about the program was you could branch off into interior design, architecture, city planning, or landscape architecture. And what I really found through the program was it was the interior detailing and that sort of scale of design that really spoke to me. And so that seemed like a very easy choice. And from there, and again, Debs can speak to it too, but from there, I went to start my first job where I met Debbie. And it was neat because we found out we actually had a bunch of cousins in common, through marriage. And through that experience of working with Debbie after she left, I really felt like there was this hole in my current position. I just really loved working with her, and I feel like we had really similar ways of working, I guess, and creativity. We like to push boundaries. And so then I actually ended up following her to her other job. And I won't give away the rest. I'll let Debbie jump in and she can sort of finish off that story. But yeah, so I think that basically through school and through just experiencing the program, I really fell in love with interior design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Debbie,
and
what's your...
my story? So I guess in some ways, and we've actually never talked about our growing up portion, what brought us to design school. But I didn't really realize it was design specifically that I love, but I've always been involved with creative expression. So I was a dancer, ballet, jazz, contemporary, and then I actually did Israeli dance for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
And so I don't think I knew that I was creative per se. I just did what I did. And then growing up, I realized that was sort of my articulation at the time. But yeah, with family, my great uncle, who was one of my closest family members on my dad's side, was a photographer, and he worked at architecture firms. And then I had a cousin who was a mid-century modern furniture designer. And again, on my dad's side? No, my mom's side. I can't believe I had to think for a second. My grandfather owned an upholstery manufacturer. So I was kind of enveloped by it without really recognizing that it was. And my aunt was an interior designer. She was one of my closest family members. So yeah, just that sort of surrounding. But then my dad was a lawyer. And I think that's where I get a little bit of my strategic thinking and deductive reasoning, and my mom as well. And so I kind of mashed that up. And like Amanda said, I thought I was going to go to law school, but then I forgot to study for the LSAT. So I was like, oh no. I'm one of those people too. I'm a bit of a winger. I'm like, okay, well, I better what's my other option? And I submitted for the Faculty of Architecture, also got in right away. And at the time when I went through school, I got into the Department of Interior Design specifically. They weeded out that program, and I ended up, after 3 years of Department of Interior Design, switched over to ED, Environmental Design, and then went out for my master's. But I didn't finish it. I was the first one of 5 master's students in North America, and I just kind of felt like I was a bit of a guinea pig. So after doing 2 years of coursework and the beginning of my thesis, I was like, I'm out. I don't want to be part of that process. And moved to Taiwan, actually abandoned design completely. I'm like over it. I had done like 11 years university. I had done like my psychology degree, which really fuels a lot of how I am in my creative process. Then 3 years interior design, then 2 years master's, and then done. And then when I moved to Taiwan, I just was surrounded by such interesting design perspectives. And when I came back, I got recruited to a company called EQ3, which is like an international company, but they're here in Winnipeg. So I got to work with their marketing departments and their furniture product development departments, and had a really like gestalt experience from kickoff that was focused on brand, which was always a passion of mine. And my thesis was actually on branding and how that informs interior design, and being like this, my claim, it was the strongest media of communication of marketing through interiors because of how you engage with it. So it was a really good kickoff career path for me. I spent 3 years there. And then, leading to connecting with Amanda, we were then together at a corporate commercial firm where we were, doing office spaces and some restaurants and just really intense drawing process, because the firm we were at, they really wanted to show what we could do. So we would literally only hire architects at the time to sign off for our drawings. Like we were doing Class A drawings, our own code analysis. And it wasn't as creative as Amanda and I would have liked. So we kind of found a home within each other. We were always pushing beyond typicals, beyond focusing code. So we would go down our own little rabbit hole. And then I moved on to high-end residential. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I was kind of doing my own research.
Gotcha. Smart.
It was like brand focus, retail design, and then to corporate commercial, and then I wanted high-end residential. So I wanted to have a really well-rounded sort of knowing. And then Amanda followed me there.
I did.
And then it was just like, it's time. We had some life circumstances that it led to, this is the right time to do it. And we knew we were yin yang, but we also knew we had a lot of commonalities in terms of like our ethos and how we want to push, design languaging. So it was great.
And I think that because we were able to go through so many similar experiences, we could really take what we valued and push that and get rid of the stuff that didn't make sense to us. And then even things like, because even though it was a bit different, but when we went through school, there were a lot of, again, commonalities that we were able to incorporate into our company, and like the studio environment and the collaboration. So that was like a really great fit.
Yeah, for sure. So can you tell me, how many years were you guys like working for other firms and other people before you decided this is the time to go off on our own?
Like for me, it was 3 years EQ3, 3 years at that corporate commercial firm we're referencing, and just shy of 3 years, or maybe it was 3 years at the high-end residential. So I had 9 years of like structured mentorship. Which is really important in our firm. We love a mentored route, and we focus a lot of that in our office. And then Amanda,
I was at about 3 years for that corporate commercial and 1 year at the high-end residential.
So I mean, you guys
about
put
4
in
years.
a lot of time, like years of training, basically, because I always get these new designers or aspiring designers, and it's like they want to do it now. It's like, and it's kind of like you might want to like try and like explore a little bit and put in some years of time before completely launching. So I'm always curious, like how many years was it before then you decided to go. And I think for me, it was like 7,
Yeah.
something like that.
You need the mentorship.
Mhm.
Mentorship is so critical because
Mhm.
I don't think people realize the moving parts that happen with design. Like,
Right.
we are responsible. I heard this on a podcast. We're responsible for everything, but in control of nothing.
Yep.
I use a bit of a generalization. And if you have that opportunity to be mentored and guided by people who have done their time as well, you're going to learn from their mistakes they've already learned. And you're not going to go through the mistakes because of the rigorous, like, red line process that we would go through, or design deliberation. So, oh my gosh, take that safe space, get that groundwork going from like experts from all directions, and then do your thing, because you're still, we're inventing 24/7. Nothing
Yeah.
is like atypical
Yeah.
because your site conditions and your personalities and the design direction. That's a whole new chemistry for every single job. So you want to be able to have those resources and those like, oops, no head.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the same mistake, you have that deductive reasoning, hopefully, or that critical
Mhm.
thinking that can help mitigate avoiding those errors. And there can be a lot.
I think another
Absolutely.
really big thing is that you learn design in school, some probably more theoretical than others. But when you start a business, there's a lot more than design that goes into that. And so it's
Mhm.
understanding like processes and like, just even understanding how to make money at it.
Yeah.
Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it is a business. Those are skills and different perspectives that you can take away from seeing how other people do it. And, that can make or break you realistically, because again, to be a successful business, you need to be able to run smoothly and have those processes in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it still will never be perfect.
No, of course. But it could really give you a good foundation to work off of. Or
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like us too, again, there were things that we saw that made sense to us and things that we
Mhm.
could very confidently say, not for us, but until you see it and really experience it, it's hard to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is a great segue into, the services that you're offering and the collaboration that we're creating with having these one-on-one sessions with these
Mhm.
new aspiring, even designers that are, working for current companies. I think can benefit a lot from having access to you both and the knowledge that you have retained all these years. I mean, you guys have been in business for such a long time. Just thinking about like all of that and being able to have that in your corner is huge. So, and I know you also offer that within your own company and not just, with Design Coven. But can you share a little bit about what those services entail and what the process is when somebody does sign up for that?
For sure. I mean, Amanda and I will both probably piggyback on this guy. Amanda's more of we'll just think of even the perspectives that we both
Yeah.
come. So if they choose to work with a principal, for example, like even in our own company, Amanda's focus is more on operational, technical, and I'm more on marketing PR. So if someone's wanting to have a different perspective or a different groundwork in our company, that's good to know as well.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean, the one-on-ones for what we're hoping to offer when it comes to like new designers is almost like a red line. So if you're a solopreneur,
Yeah.
you don't have anyone to bounce those ideas off of. You come to someone that has 20 years experience, and Amanda is like 15. I always forget what number exactly, but when she just did the math of that, you're not dealing with someone who's just like green. And so we can tell you from from me, from different workplace experiences or studio experiences, what to look at. And what's exciting about what Design Shop does, because we're both commercial and residential, you've got both of those offerings. But I think when it comes to solopreneurs, it's like, do you want to design scrum together? Or let's talk about where you're stuck at. Or do you want like the virtual, red line? And so you can buy a session with us, and you might think it's a single session at the get-go. And then you do that design kickoff, for example, if that's what you're looking for. But we could also be that back-end value where it's like, okay, how it got translated, or that medium point again. It's like, oh, you're not reinforcing the right story. You went on a bit of a rabbit hole. I don't see continuity there. So from a broad brushstroke perspective, we can offer that where you can be like, I'm hiring you from day one, or investing day one. I'm going midpoint before your presentation. How did this align? What should I be looking at? And then again, like, let's call it the QC, like the virtual QC. So that's one way to look at it. And there's many, many more tips and tricks too. Like Amanda used to do some sessions on like how to do the perfect site measure. And what are you looking for? It's not just the technical, like our as-built, for example, are like technical to the quarter inch. And why is that important? What do you start to observe and know about your site while you're doing that? So, and Amanda, you can like add to that.
Yeah,
general.
Absolutely. So there are definitely sort of more specific skills we could hone in on, or then it can also be more business related. So like Debbie said, you know, if it's more like the technical aspects or operations or PR, we could definitely help give you advice based on, you know, our 10 years of experience, both in the business and then beyond from other firms. I think one really big thing we've heard is that in some places, mentorship and sharing is not happening, and people really gatekeep, for lack of a better word, the information. And we just really don't believe in that. We want to elevate everyone. Why shouldn't everyone have that access? We can all grow from each other.
Absolutely.
So we're really excited to be able to offer that and help and grow the next generation. And then other things that we can offer as well, you know, we've studied in the past for our NCIDQ exam. So I know we've supported other designers with that and sort of ways to study and tips and tricks, at least from, you know, what we've been able to go through with that experience.
And actually, to add to that, Amanda and I don't know how the heck we passed, but we both passed first time, and we both crammed. So they give you 5 years to study, because a lot of people fail multiple times. It's a really rigorous exam. So we have tips and tricks of how we did it for us, keeping in mind that we have a lot of experience to draw on. So that's something too. It's like leaning into the way your brain thinks versus what you think you need to do to study. So we have our ways that we did it. Like, I'll just quickly lean into mine. Like, I don't read anymore. I'm so done with reading specs. Like, I'm tapped out. And so when I'm on a project, I'm barely taking notes. I'm the listener.
Amazing.
So the way I studied was watching and listening. I didn't read the book. I read it like 4 years ago because prior to COVID, that was going to happen. But 4 years later, I never touched it. So I watched videos. We did like, we invested for 1 month into Q practice, but I had to go into what's my way that I take in information. And I leaned into that. I chanced it and I was fine. So
that's incredible.
Well, I think a big thing that Deb touched on is experience was huge for us. And one advantage we've had both in our previous work as well as in our current company is that we've been able to touch on so many aspects of every project. Whereas sometimes in the bigger firms, you're kind of pigeonholed. And so again, something we can offer is maybe you can't get exposed to everything in those big firms when you're starting off, but we can expose you, you know, virtually to some of those processes and kind of explain the reasoning and, you know, the forms and all of those types of things, so you can really see it firsthand rather than just reading it in a book.
Right. And the exam has changed. The requirements they're asking for now, and it's a really good idea, is you have to have X amount of hours per category, but that might not be enough. So leaning on what Amanda's saying, it's like where you get stuck on, we can contextualize that better for you and show you the way. So that was really helpful. Like I had, again, because of our broad experience, the fact that we both studied for a month is ridiculous and passed. Amazing. And we didn't do it the conventional way. So we might be an asset that way. I think we will be an asset that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then with like projects with clients, like, and this can translate to designers, like clients have hired us for 2 sessions, for example. One was residential based and one was commercial based. And again, I think we said in the last podcast, we were alarmed by how much value we added, even though we've done it in the past.
Yeah, of course.
Those 2 projects specifically, I think were really enlightening, the value added. So it's not an inexpensive investment, but the takeaways are huge. And we feel really confident with that.
Absolutely. I mean, it just
Yeah,
leaps
so
you
we're
so
really
much
excited to do
forward.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just saying that it leaps you like 10 times forward, 100 times forward than if you were to have to go through the experience, because we're piggybacking on all these years
Oh,
that you've
yeah.
already, and you can't buy that. It's like buying time.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
totally. And you get stuck, right? Like
Hmm.
we even say to our designers, don't ruminate, because we'll do design scrums as a collective. But then, of
Yeah.
course, then you're going down into your production mode, you're really seeing how that translates.
Right.
And you do get stuck. So don't get stuck. Stop the ruminating, because the ruminating of your time
That's
could
the
be
worst.
20 hours that you might have to bill a client, and you're in that, or you invest in an hour of us and you work through that. Then you go back and you're racing. So
Mhm.
it's like we always say to our clients to try not to objectify your design fees. That's part of the big picture.
Yeah.
So your design fees might be the 10% of construction costs, or we always say 7.5% to 15%. It depends on the complexity of a project. It depends on the client needs, and it depends on the scope. And don't look at it that way. Look at the beginning and the end. So we can mitigate so many like little sticking points, but it'll totally make you race through later on.
Absolutely.
And then if you look at your big picture fee as a designer, an entrepreneur, say it's 20 grand, 50 grand, whatever it is, but you're investing in 3 sessions with us, for example, that added value to your big picture service, it can be a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And another thing too, like, I don't know, like Amanda's done some community work, but I've done like teaching at the university as well, some under a TA capacity and some where I was like a group instructor. So we've got that experience base too, where we know how to push through a studio environment structure, and some of our other designers as well. And so the Coven has the opportunity, like in social, you really see who we are as personalities.
Yeah.
So you're going to start to resonate to one of us or the other.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And so you have the opportunity to purchase through or request one of the designers or a principal. So
Yeah.
that offering's there too for range.
Yeah, that's incredible. I just love having you both on my team because we're so different. You were just talking personality, and you're going to need a certain personality, or you're going to be drawn to a certain person, and you're going to click and things are going to go. So now I've just brought in that range from just me to having all of you on board too, which is huge. And again, like with both of our companies, I feel like we're really about lifting everybody up, right? It's lifting everybody up, raising that vibration, which in turn is elevating our world and the people that we're designing for and their lives, and then just that beautiful ripple effect that happens. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm so grateful.
Yay.
So yeah, so we're gonna we're gonna work out all the details on the links and everything there for the Design Coven. So all of that will be there for you. And then also to all of our listeners here that are not maybe in the Design Coven, or are still trying to figure their way into this world of design, they'll also we'll have all those links in the show notes as well, so everyone has access to
totally. And it's exciting to look at our portfolio too. Like we've done things from 20,000 square feet conceptual gaming studio offices.
Oh my gosh.
To very bespoke residential work. So there's such a nice portfolio to be inspired by. So you'll have a range of people who are followers, and it's just knowing we can do that breadth of work.
Amazing. You love it. And can you speak a little bit just about your firm in general and how you like your philosophy and the way that you design? We were talking a bit about it before, Debbie and I, but I find it so fascinating, and I think people are going to be inspired by what you guys are doing. I think you're just doing some really incredible things that are so different because you've been able to create your own firm in the way that you see it fit. And I just would love to share. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about what you guys do and how you created that?
Yeah. And I think, Amanda, like it starts with how we began. Like, and I know I love how you speak to it, Amanda.
Like our very, very beginning, I remember we were brainstorming by Debbie's pool, and I think it was so important for us to create a firm that spoke to our values. And although our values have maybe shifted and morphed a little bit. The core is still there. But at the beginning, to us, that was, we wanted to not be pretentious. We wanted to be very approachable. And so again, we were just talking about how sometimes we sit on the floor for a meeting because that's just who we are, like
right now.
Yeah. It's about being comfortable and confident. And, even in the way that we dress, we've talked about, we don't have a uniform because you're not going to perform best if you're not wearing something that you feel comfortable in. So there was that element. And we wanted to also have fun in what we do. That was a big factor. I think we were kind of stuck in, the grind, and we wanted to find the work-life balance. And part of that was enjoying our day-to-day. And I can confidently say that I do have fun every day. And of course, there's tasks that, you don't always want to do, some of that admin work, but we really genuinely love what we do. And we're so passionate about design. So that became like a really easy extension for us as well.
And it was important for us to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
Like going back to what Amanda said, the grind, like if we went back to our past experiences, again, when I was at EQ3, I was traveling half the year. I was doing 12 to 16-hour days.
Wow.
And then when we met collectively, it was just like heads down. Like, what are your efficient keystrokes, even with AutoCAD? It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And it was super hard. And then, so that was kind of the root of it. It's like, we want a work-life balance. We always joke at the beginning. It's like, we're going to work 3 days, half days, whatever. But we still held on to that. It's like, it was like, if we aren't taking care of ourselves, and right now we're a little bit off because we've had a lot going on and we're looking to add to our team to bring that equilibrium back. But that goes into our staff. And then that gets translated into our client work. So even with our staff, and Amanda could add to it too, we've introduced, and small businesses can do that. This is what we're about to describe. We just have to be committed and find a way. But we have benefits, health benefits, and we have that almost right away. We have childcare options because we have 5 children in our team, but 4 babies in the last 2.5 years. We have a wellness program. The designers all have free yoga to it in studio. That's a great studio in our city, and online. So if Esther right now, who's on mat leave, she still has access to it, or if we're traveling. We have flexible work days. We have the work studio and at-home hybrid, and we have a 4-day work week.
Wow.
So all those things, like, is it expensive for us? Yes. But instead of having an office space, we've invested that way. And home base is like my home. So we gather together here, but we're often on sites together. We're often in meetings together. But people can work from home in their pajamas, their comfort level. If you're pumping out 200 hours of drawings, you don't have to be in an office. Wear your sweatpants and your Lululemons after you rolled out of yoga and be in a good, comfortable headspace and do your work. So it started with us, it goes to our staff, and then when we do our work in a comfortable, great headspace, that rolls into our project work and our engagement with our clients. We come from a place of empathy and softness and play. I think that's where it's morphed a bit, Amanda, when you talk about that. Like, we've really built on that even further.
Oh, yeah.
And
big time. Well, I think we recognized as well, like, the 9 to 5, not only is it not practical for how people live today, but when you're designing, it doesn't work like that. As you know, you can't just turn a switch and be like, here's an idea and continue to pump that out. So we wanted to make sure everyone had the opportunity to take the space that they needed. And again, like, whatever those rituals might be, whether it's yoga in the middle of the day or going for a walk and taking fresh air, whatever that is, to make sure that they can be the best they could be. And again, enjoy life and have fun and keep that passion and creativity that is so vital for what we're doing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And how many people are currently on your team right now?
We just added Danielle, so we're 7 designers now.
Wow.
We have a virtual assistant. We are now looking for a studio coordinator, and again, to help us get back to that equilibrium because it's been pretty busy. And then by contract, we have this is new for us, a PR agency. Amazing. And we have social media by contract, which I still collaborate with. I think that's it.
That's a lot. A business coach.
Yeah, a business coach. Yeah.
Wow.
And then someone who's like a specialty with human resources. and like human rights. So they
Yeah.
help advise us when we have trickier situations so we can deal with them in really like humanistic ways.
And I think all of that really speaks to like building your team. And while we may not be on contract for anyone, we can be part of that team in snippets as needed. And I think, it's almost like raising a kid, right? It's like it takes the village and having your supports. And it's no different from a business. You really need everyone on your side and have people you can bounce ideas off of and get advice from and people that you trust.
Yeah, like we recognize, like even though we're designers that do projects from beginning to end, we're not experts in human resources. We're not experts in social. We're not experts. So we lean on them and we learn from that. It's so amazing because we're question askers. Amanda and I like to know the why behind everything. So we don't just passively take the content in or the collaborations in. We're absorbing that so we can be better at everything we do. So that's a nice knowing as well as we work together that we lean on experts. We don't pretend we're the best at everything, but we want the best of everything around us.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love that you have invested in all these people that specialize in what they do, which is just, you're walking your talk with, talking about these designers bringing us on as consultants and mentors. We need to have them for sure in order for us to
It's important.
be successful.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything coming up that you're super excited about or that you want to share with the designers? I know we've spoken about the mentorship, but is there anything else that you're creating or doing that maybe we can get inspired by?
Yeah, we have some insane projects going on right now. I mean, Amanda and I we're trying to get out of our imposter syndrome. We keep saying we're stuck and then we get out of it. But I think that the past couple of years, the projects that we've taken on that we didn't even think were available to us have just blown our minds. So right now we have we call it a legacy property. It's with a client that's in the UK, but they're from Winnipeg. And it's 11,000 square feet, the main house. It's a complete gut reno.
Wow.
So that's one component of it. But also on the property, there's a guest house we're building brand new. We're collaborating with one of our favorite architects. And that's being done remotely because he lives in Lethbridge, but he comes back for certain visits. So again, we're so used to working that way. And that guest house is 4,000 square feet. So the property alone that we're working on is 15,000 square feet, collaborating with a landscape architect because we're redoing all that, the entire exterior of all the structures, which is garage and a gazebo too. So that's been thrilling. And we love working remotely with our client too. So that clients in the UK who do virtual, they come here twice a year. So that's been, cool. I think we're pretty pumped about that one.
Yeah. And I think not project related, but this next month at the end will be our 10-year anniversary. So that's also really exciting for us.
Right.
So,
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
Why do I always forget about that? I think that's part of our go. We forget to step back. So we're looking about how we want to celebrate that with obviously our team and the community as well. So we've got a few things in the queue for that because community is super important to us. We love our makers in the city. We're very involved with our design community for CEUs and knowledge and product knowledge or just events to connect because we're competitive, I always say, but we're community first. So we try to keep that reach out going.
Oh my gosh, you guys are insane. Beautiful. I love it. I love everything you're doing.
We're ambitious.
You are. You're my kind of people.
Yay. Well, that's what we did.
Exactly. I know. My husband's always I always come up with these ideas. He's like, what are you doing? It's like a constant thing, right? It's like we're creative. We want to connect and create and do and share.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that you're, in California and we're here in the core of Canada. It's, just to get the inspiration and the excitement that you guys, your entire team that you've built are going through. Because we're branching out project-wise. We've done some work in Mexico, we're doing some in Colorado, a lot in Lethbridge, but it's nice to even go broader. And I think that's one of our goals too, is to start expanding, south. or more in Mexico. So, even collaboration opportunities, which could be an exciting discussion point that we all have as well, is a neat thing for us to start to think about.
Absolutely. I love
and
that you
learn
mentioned
from.
that. Yeah. I mean, it's so incredible now with our world and how it operates that we can connect with somebody from another country or another part of the world. Because it's like, oh my God, like all these doors just all of a sudden opened up. I think a lot of times we're just so stuck, or I know just for me, like just thinking in this little tiny bubble, but it's like, oh my gosh, we have the world at our fingertips and access to so much. The expansion of it all has just like been so incredible. And I've been even connecting more with people in Canada, like you guys, which is like
cool.
So rad, which is so funny. My husband's mom was born there, and he just got his dual citizenship this past week.
Nice.
So we definitely have
Congrats.
to so that's super exciting. But I just love it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, we're like in the right zone. We're connecting in all these beautiful
You're
ways.
manifesting and it's happening.
Yes.
I know. I think that's one thing I do miss. Like we've started it, of course, and I think it's where my travel bug comes from, or I have a major travel bug. But like with my EQ3 time, I traveled like all over North America, and I did work like in Thailand and Aruba and a project in Bahrain. I didn't travel there yet because I could before that would happen. But, I miss that. And it was so neat working with the different regions and what that taught me as a designer. Like I talked a lot about it too with Amanda. Like when we do projects, sometimes we'll have a client that's doing multiple locations. So it's the concept of regionalizing that. So you can have your core brand and your restaurant story, but what does that look like as you expand to another area of Canada or the US? It's that concept of regionalizing. I'm missing that. I want to get back into that again. But we talk about it, but until you're exposed to more, So
it's
that's
pretty
exciting for us to think about. Oh, for sure will.
We've already made it. It's happening right now.
Oh, yes.
Amazing. Oh, I love it so much. So how can people find you? Where can they follow you? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, we're on Instagram. That's probably one of our biggest platforms in terms of social. So we're Design Shop WPG. It stands for Winnipeg, so Design Shop WPG. And then we have a website that we are a little behind on because we've been so busy. We haven't had a chance to photograph like a handful of projects, but that will be updated shortly.
Yes.
So what is that?
www.design, and then it's shop, shop.com.
Perfect. And we'll have all that in the show notes. So if anyone missed it, you can click on there. And then in the Design Coven. Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, and then both Amanda and I have very active. We're starting to get more active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So you can find us personally, and then we have a Design Shop landing page there too that we've been ignoring, but starting to pay attention to as well. It's just been so busy.
Nice. Of course.
But I would say like Insta and our website are our most common.
Having such a visual product, it's really a great place to see our work would be Instagram. Yeah.
And it could be fun too, because we've had now 10 years of history in Insta. We committed to it quite aggressively at the get-go. So it's a neat trajectory to go through and see how we grew and evolved, and maybe inspiration to visually for your new designers of what you can become, and trust the process, trust the steps, lean into your personality, lean into your brand that you're developing, and seeing how that changes. And then the fun thing about our Insta too is we do a lot of behind the scenes.
Love it.
And we always have. So you can even scroll through our stories and see projects as they have evolved. And we've got some pretty complex ones. So yeah, it's a fun little like visual trajectory. We're committed to it.
That's incredible. Yeah, I'm going to be stalking and looking and checking it all out because I love the behind the scenes stuff. And I think everyone loves that. Like every time we post a behind the scenes thing, it's like, that's what gets the most comments, and people want to know and like, what's going on. And also just to kind of get, a scope of what's happening behind everything, to understand that there's so many complexities and there's so many things, and there's things that you can't predict, right? Until we open up walls and we're like, oh my gosh, like, we've got to change.
That's where the magic happens. I know. I think clients don't realize it's like, you can have these amazing drawings, which helps a lot with schedule. Like our drawings are really tight, but you open up those walls in a renovation. Like new builds are easy peasy. If we could do new builds every day, like woof, our stress level would be down half. But we just did a funny reel yesterday. I felt quite vulnerable. I wasn't sure if I sounded morose or romantic, but it's demo. Let's pause for it. Let's absorb that beauty. Let's be inspired by it. Like, it's actually quite an exciting time that can then allow you to pivot in a really, really creative way. Like, every oopsie is an opportunity if you look at it that way.
Yeah,
absolutely. It causes you to reinvent. It's quite exciting. So we have always exposed the nitty gritty because we're kind of obsessed with it. And then recently, I don't even know if you know this, Amanda, we are on Threads as well.
I did notice that, yes.
So it's a bit of our cheekier voice because it's sort of that opportunity, like a little bit less curated. Because we're a little bit, what's the term that our marketing and social media, we're not defiant, we're a little disturbery. So you'll see a little bit of that voice behind the scenes as well.
We like to push boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, we like to poke the bear a little bit. Yeah. But we stay in our lanes. Like, we don't do anything that's unkosher, but we'll always teeter a little bit.
Fun.
If you can, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your knowledge. And I just know that people are going to be inspired by all of this. And to have you on the team is huge. So
yay.
We're very excited.
Yeah, it was really, I'm excited we connected. And look forward to the next steps. Thanks for having us on today.
Of course.
You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge, and leave us a 5-star review that helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person events, so everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, and Kenseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.